At Xeno's palace, Xeno was playing a planet-destroying game, but since he was playing by himself, he got bored even sooner than normal. So, one day, Kale was contacted by Beerus and Whis to come to Beerus Planet. Once she arrived, they explained to her how the Grand Minister told them that Xeno is hosting a tournament between all the universes, so he can be entertained. They then tasked Kale finding 9 other fighters for their team, since they need to have a team of 10. She, Beerus, Whis, and Shin then went to Capsule Corporation to discuss their strategy. While there, they tried recruiting Vegeta, but he refused to join since his baby wasn't born yet, so Whis sped up the process by taking Bola out of Bulma's stomach. Kale then went on to recruit 18, Krillin, 17, Gohan, Piccolo, Tien, and Master Roshi, though she was struggling to find a 10th fighter for the tournament. Since Boo isn't alive in this timeline, she can't recruit him, and she wouldn't suggest Frieza like Goku did. Goku would, of course, be an option, but since she knew about him wanting to pass on defending the Earth to the others, she didn't recruit him. So, for the 10th fighter, she asked Yamcha to join the tournament, and he agrees, as she didn't forget about him. We haven't seen much of Yamcha in Dragon Ball Super, but in the actual timeline since he was waiting for Goku to ask him to join, I assume that meant he was training in his free time. So, strength-wise, he would probably be comparable in power to the other humans. Regardless, since they had time before the tournament began, they decided to train before it started. They still make Gohan the leader before Whis has the Grand Minister teleport them to the World of Void. After they arrive, Beerus, Whis, Shin, and the old Kai then wish them luck, as they then head to the spectator seats. After Universe 6 arrived, Vegeta and Kale went to talk with them. Speaking of Universe 6, Kale's from Universe 7 in this timeline, I chose Khalifa's brother, Renzo, as Universe 6's 10th fighter. Even though he was retired and has a leg injury, they convinced him to join since the fate of their universe was at stake. Anyway, after all the other universes arrived, Xeno greeted everyone and told them to make the tournament interesting, as the Tournament of Power was about to begin. The Grand Minister then appears and goes over the rules again, and after he does, Gohan goes over their strategy again. The Tournament of Power then started, and Kale, Vegeta, 17, and 18 quickly ignored their strategy of sticking together. Nariyama then tried spinning to knock fighters away, but Hit and Basil easily stopped them. Billy Boo began fighting with Basil, but he countered her attacks and knocked her out of the arena, thus making her the first eliminated fighter. She was teleported to the stands, so Rumshi berated her for forgetting to use her wings. The Universe 9 fighters then surrounded the Universe 7 fighters and stuck together, but they managed to fend them off. Basil then tries attacking Nappa, but he fails to eliminate him. Kale was in a fight with Ganos, but she knocked him aside. Before she could do anything else, Nink grabbed her from behind and tried sacrificing himself to eliminate her. She turned into a Super Saiyan Blue and eliminated Nink. As she drops to her base form, she's been surrounded by multiple Universe 9 warriors, including the Trio of Danger. When the Trio of Danger starts to attack her, she wouldn't know about Lavender's poison since the Xeno Expo didn't happen in this timeline. Fortunately for her, she would be able to dodge his attacks, though the trio was managing to keep her on the defensive, so she had to focus on dodging their attacks. Meanwhile, Roselle tried to attack Yamcha from behind, but he didn't toy around like Frieza did, so he used the Spirit Ball to quickly eliminate Roselle. Back with Kale, more of Universe 9 joins in the fight, so Vegeta jumps in, as they both agree to take on 4 fighters each. They end up fighting all 9 at once, and Vegeta's hand is frozen by Hissop, though he causes Hop to accidentally attack Lavender. In the confusion, Kale turns into a Super Saiyan, as she then eliminates both Comfrey and Chapel. Vegeta also uses Moment of Confusion to knock Hop out of the ring. Oregano then uses webs to trap Vegeta's hand, but he turned Super Saiyan, as he then eliminated both Oregano and Hissop with a single attack. Meanwhile, Sorrel had tried attacking 18, but she easily knocked her out of the arena. Since the Trio of Danger was being overwhelmed by the 2 Saiyans, they used their Triangle Danger Beam as their last resort. Kale and Vegeta countered it with the Final Blast, which is the combination of the Resist Blast and the Final Flash. This overpowered the Triangle Danger Beam, thus causing Bergamo, Basil, and Lavender to be eliminated. Since this was the last of Universe 9's fighters, Xeno erased all of Universe 9. Even the God of Destruction Citra and the Supreme Kai Rho was erased. Only the Angel Mohito remained, as he just smirked mischievously to himself. Beerus and had Whis confirmed that Universe 9 was erased, which it was, so every remaining fighter finally realized the severity of the situation they were in. Vegeta and Kale were surprised Xeno really erased it, as this was the first time they'd seen Xeno erase something in this timeline. Regardless, it took a little bit for the fighting to resume, since everyone was shocked by this. Hit and Batamo then approached Vegeta and Kale, so Vegeta went Super Saiyan to try and attack Hit. Batamo blocked this while Hit teleported away, so Vegeta began an assault on Batamo. As he was about to eliminate Batamo, Automagedda intervened, so Batamo was set free. Diem tried attacking Krillin, so he used his Destructive Disc to cut Diem's wings, and Master Roshi used the Kamehameha to knock him out of the ring. Back with Batamo and Automagedda, Vegeta tried insulting Automagedda, so Batamo got on his back and covered his ears, as they then called themselves Automagedda. 18 then got into a fight fight with Shosa, but after he played dead, he attacked her and almost eliminated her, though Kale saved her. Kale fired a Ki blast that she and 18 knocked around like a ping pong ball, which 18 then used to eliminate Shosa. Meanwhile, with the humans, Krillin was attacked from behind by Majora, though Yamcha came in to help him and eventually noticed Majora was using his sense of smell, so Krillin thrown his shoe. This stunned Majora, so he knocked Majora off the arena with a Kamehameha. While he was celebrating his victory, he was distracted, so Frost came in and eliminated him. Even with Frieza not being there to tell Frost to do that, he's still the type of person to use sneaky tactics like that. Regardless, Yamcha tried to attack Frost, but he used a smoke screen to disappear. In the stands, Beerus shunned the Krillin, but said what's done is done. Though Shin said he wasn't disappointed, the fierce look in his eyes didn't reassure Krillin. Vegeta was struggling against Spawn and Vegeta, but he was suddenly confronted by Cabba, with Renzo following him. As he was approaching, Nagrici and Murray-san attacked him, but he eliminated them both. Cabba then turned Super Saiyan as he challenged Vegeta to a fight. Meanwhile, Hit had destroyed Nariyama's body and used a time skip to flick Nariyama off the arena. Caulifla was being attacked by both Methiop and Napapa, but she then turned into a Super Saiyan and sent Methiop flying out of the arena. She then used a suplex on Napapa and threw him out of the arena as well. Also, there's something to mention about Caulifla, since Kale is from Universe 7 in this timeline, and she is normally Universe 6's Legendary Super Saiyan. I chose Caulifla to be Universe 6's Legendary Super Saiyan. Back with Kale, she was currently in her Super Saiyan form and fighting Jimizu, as he was teleporting all around her. Caulifla then jumped in and knocked him away, as she was wanting to take on Kale. She asked Kale to teach her to become a Super Saiyan Blue, but when Kale says she isn't ready for this form, this angers Caulifla, so she tries to turn back into her legendary form, since she did once before against Cabba. She fails to, so disinterested Kale asks if she could leave, but Caulifla tells her to wait, and she then went into her Super Saiyan Grade 3 form, but she was too slow to land a hit on her. Kale knew all about this form and its drawbacks, so she told Caulifla to aim for Super Saiyan 2, and she then shown her the form. When Caulifla tried to turn into it, she succeeded, so Kale thought she might be able to turn into a Super Saiyan 3. They began fighting evenly, then when Kale started using more of her power, Caulifla ended up being pushed back. The more Caulifla got beaten down, the more her anger grew, with her power growing as well. She eventually began to power up, and she managed to turn into her legendary Super Saiyan form again. She immediately attacks Kale, and she tries to fight back, but she can't do anything. So, she goes into her blue form and uses her blaster stream, though Caulifla easily shakes this off. She couldn't control her power as she sent Ki blasts throughout the entire arena, eliminating Dirasum in the process. Vwan then appeared and restrained Caulifla with her Justice Whip, though she broke out of it and knocked him off the arena. Jiren then decided to spring into action while Hit pointed out that Caulifla will be disqualified if she accidentally kills someone. So, Cabba jumped in to try and calm her down, but she attacked him in her blinding rage. Jiren sent her flying with a power impact, as Hit then confronted Jiren as Cabba caught the unconscious Caulifla. Then when Kale appeared, Hit and Cabba fell back, leaving Kale to confront Jiren. Before they could fight, Toph ambushed her, as he and Jiren then retreated to save their stamina. So, Kale had to deal with Casserole, Tupper, Zorre, Kakot, and Kettle. They wanted to eliminate Caulifla and Cabba to avenge Vwan, so they formed a temporary alliance with Kale. In the meantime, Master Roshi used a Thundershock surprise on some pre-show, as Tien then uses Tri-Beam to eliminate him. Eventually, Murray-chan would try attacking Yamcha, so he knocks him off the arena by using his Wolf Fang Fist. The Pride Troopers were pushing Kale, Caulifla, and Cabba back, so 17 and 18 came in to rescue them. Kale was then caught in a bear hug by Tupper, but 18 saved her as she threw him from the arena. 17 was easily overpowering Casserole, so he escaped and regrouped with the remaining Pride Troopers. They turned their focus to Caulifla and Cabba, as Kokot sealed them in another dimension so that Kale, 17, and 18 couldn't interfere. As they got into a beam struggle, Caulifla and Cabba were losing, even with her in her Super Saiyan 2 form and him in his Super Saiyan form. Caulifla's anger caused her to transform again, but she managed to remain in control this time, so she went into the controlled version of her legendary Super Saiyan form. She slipped into her uncontrolled legendary Super Saiyan form as her Galaxy Stream overpowered the Pride Troopers in his blast. So Zorre, Casserole, and Kettle were knocked out of the arena. Kokot had sealed herself in the many dimensions to avoid the blast, but 18 threw it off, eliminating her. As Kale lets Cabba and Caulifla retreat to rest, the heroes don't notice Brienne de Chateau observing them. Brienne de Chateau called for Sankaku and Sue Rose to join her, as she then gained the attention of all the remaining fighters, and the Universe 2 fighters underwent a recital. Brienne de Chateau, Sankaku, and Sue Rose began transforming, however 17 immediately blasted them. The girls confronted him on this vulgar action and Toph came to their defense, so they were allowed to transform. Of course, Brienne de Chateau became Brienne, Sankaku became Kakunza, and Sue Rose became Rosie. Ribrianne released an attack that would brainwash people that smelled it. This didn't affect them, but Gohan told them it was time to fight independently since the arena was getting more destroyed, so they went their separate ways. Vegeta fired a blast that blew away the gas, as he then got into an even fight with Ribrianne. She then began to bounce herself around, but Vegeta dodged her attack. While she was bouncing like this, she bumped into Zerkor and knocked him out of the ring. Kale was blocking all of Rosie's punches easily, but she was pushed back by her energy blasts. 17 was dodging all Cocoon's attacks, so she then begins using the ruined fighting stage to her advantage. He was pretending to be weak at first, but he eventually blocked one of her attacks and tries to knock her off. She was saved by Bakal, who launched her towards 17, so he was knocked down. He decided to get serious, which is when he increased his speed and knocked Bakal off the stage. 17 then turned his attention toward Cocoonza, as he eliminated her as well. 17 then confronted Ribrianne, which she was enraged at him for eliminating some of her comrades. She and 17 then began to fiercely attack each other, while Kale was being pushed back by Rosie. Kale and 17 cornered Rosie and Ribrianne, though Jimizu arrived and rescued them. Botamo then attacked Gohan, so he started using a flurry of blows against Botamo. This lifted him off the ground, allowing Gohan to knock him off the stage. Albany and Rubal then challenged Gohan and Piccolo to a fight. Albany then shifted his ki from himself, which made him impossible to detect and allowed him to wound Gohan. Rubal had the upper hand against Piccolo, but he then went into his ultimate form and used his Hell Zone grenade to eliminate Rubal. Albany began overwhelming Gohan until he went into his ultimate form, as he then defeated him with an ultimate Kamehameha. All of Universe 10's fighters were eliminated, so they were going to be erased. Before they were, Gohan noticed a locket with a picture of Albany's family in it. Regardless, Xeno then erased all of Universe 10, with even Rumshi and Gawasu being erased. Afterwards, both the Angel Kusu and Gohan mourned the destruction of Universe 10. Dispo then introduced himself to Hit, saying he will defeat his time skip. Dispo charged at him and managed to land a clean hit before Hit could use his time skip. Hit eventually realized that Dispo was aiming for the moment Hit's body tensed before using the time skip. Hit was adapting to his speed and this caused Dispo to fall off the edge, but Kensai saved him with his energy whips. Kensai then jumped into the fight to help Dispo, but Kale then jumped in while in her Super Saiyan God form to help Hit. During their fight, Dispo proves to be too fast even for the instant transmission. So, Kale starts to turn through her Super Saiyan Blue form for the instant she attacks or defends. Kensai then tried surrounding himself with an energy whip so Hit couldn't get close, but he used his time release to attack Kensai from a distance. Hit then switches places with Kale and lands a clean attack on Dispo by faking using the time skip to fool Dispo's ears. Hit continues to do this, so he was overwhelming Dispo, but he refused to surrender. Hit then threw Dispo, but he was saved by Kensai's energy whips again. Kensai then tried to take Hit down with him, but Hit time skipped behind Kensai and eliminated him. Dispo then vowed revenge on Hit and retreated, while Hit then walked off instead of fighting Kale, since she helped him against Dispo. Then with Yamcha, since he was in the center of the arena, he would be looking around for the mysterious fighters in Universe 4. Yamcha would eventually come across a tiny bug, as he began to attack his legs and knock him over. He'd continuously slip through his feet and knock him closer to the edge of the ring. However, as he got pushed to the edge, he tried using his spirit ball once again. With it, he directed it at the mom the moment he hit his feet, so this would send him flying out of the arena, so he was eliminated. Afterwards, he then returned to the center of the arena, so that he wasn't close to being eliminated. While Master Roshi was walking around and observing the ongoing fights, he was attacked by Kawaii, though she couldn't hit him, so she resorted to trying to seduce him. It worked on him at first, but he snapped out of this eventually. When he moved to touch her, this scared her, so she ran out of the arena. Derkori then appeared behind Roshi and created illusions before trapping him in a shadowy place. He then used the evil containment wave to seal her in the jar, then threw it out of the arena, eliminating her. Genos then attacked Roshi to avenge the two teammates Roshi defeated. Roshi then mocked him, so he became angry and transformed. Even though Genos was stronger, Roshi was more experienced, so he was able to dodge Genos' attacks and overwhelm him. Roshi would then go into his max power, but Krillin and Yamcha urged him not to. However, Roshi would mention that Krillin, Yamcha, and Goku were the ones to teach him to go beyond his limits. He then told Krillin and Yamcha to live their lives to the fullest, as the Kame style was with them. He then used the greatest Kamehameha and knocked Genos out of the ring. However, Roshi used his life force in this attack. Kale then went Super Saiyan Blue and rushed to Roshi, and she then helped revive him. Even though she wasn't directly a student of his, she still learned from him, so his death would have upset her. Roshi then sat on a rock to rest. However, Kale used a healing technique she learned on Yardrat to heal Roshi, then went on her way. Dr. Rhoda approached Gohan and Piccolo to show his ability, but he was hit by a powerful ki blast, so Gohan and Piccolo hid. Eventually they discovered that the blasts were being redirected through the spheres. After discovering they were following body heat, the two heat up the arena to trick him, so he bombarded the arena with blasts, cutting off Gohan and Piccolo. Kale and Vegeta then spot Prum, so they tried to attack him, but he was able to reflect their ki blasts, as he is just a mirror for the sniper. Tien and Yamcha then pursued the sniper, with Tien going towards him with his clones. while Yamcha approached him from behind. After they reached him, Tien used his Neo Tri-Beam, which destroyed Harmira's cover and injured him. Yamcha then followed this up with the Wolf Fang Fist, which knocked Harmira out of the ring. Kale and Vegeta had cornered Prum by this time, but when he tried to flee, Dr. Rhoda grabbed onto him. He was then interrupted by Vegeta, as he used the Gallic Gun, which eliminated both Prum and Dr. Rhoda. Magikaio tried attacking Jiren, but Dispo intervened, though Magikaio was overwhelming Dispo. Jiren stepped up, as he quickly ended the fight by knocking Magikaio out of the ring with just the power of his fist. Frost was about to put his plan to get his revenge on Universe 7 into action, however, some members of Universe 7 were already being attacked. Dispo had decided to go after some of the weaker Universe 7 fighters in case it came down to a numbers game, so he had gone after Yamcha, which he didn't stand much of a chance against Dispo's speed. Even with him using things like the Super Spirit Ball and Wolf Fang Fist, he couldn't land a hit on Dispo. So, Dispo then sent him flying with a kick to the jaw, which knocked him out of the ring. Meanwhile, Tien was getting beaten around by Jimizu since he couldn't keep up with the instant transmission. Even when he tried using clones of himself, Jimizu was able to make clones of himself too, so Tien was completely outclassed. So, Jimizu quickly knocked Tien out of the ring with the help of his instant transmission. In the stands, Yamcha and Tien apologized to Beerus for being eliminated, but Beerus praised them for taking out tricky fighters and fighting to the very end. Regardless, Frost was ambushing Master Roshi, but since he was healed, he stood a better chance this time. Power-wise, even when in his buff form, he couldn't do anything against Frost. He then tried using the Evil Containment Wave against Frost, which since Roshi had his stamina restored, stealing Frost worked this time. He then tossed a jar containing Frost off the edge of the arena. Automagedda tried to come to his aid, but he was stopped by Vegeta, though he had earplugs in so his weakness couldn't be exploited. This forced Vegeta to turn into a Super Saiyan, but his attacks didn't do much. He was getting mad, so he turned into a Super Saiyan Blue form that blasted out Automagedda's earplugs and insulted him, then pushed him off the stage. Kale and Ribrianne began their battle, as Ribrianne was determined to defeat Kale with the power of love. Tien is then seen using his Justice Punch to knock Renso away. Gohan then got into a fight with Barretta, but they got into a beam struggle, though Gohan concealed himself in the smoke. Jimizu then attacked him, as he was using instant transmission to attack his blind spots. Gohan then went into his ultimate form, and began to block Jimizu's attacks. Since he didn't slack on training as much in this timeline, he manages to start beating Jimizu down. To win this fight, he eventually hits Jimizu hard enough to knock him out, as he then threw him out of the ring. Meanwhile, Master Roshi was walking around the arena, though he was worn out, since he had to use a lot of his strength to steal Frost. While he was walking through the center, he was attacked by a fighter he couldn't see. Of course, this was Gamisaurus, but since Roshi was worn out, he didn't get any hits in. So, he was forced to the edge of the arena, then he was eliminated by the invisible fighter. Once in the stands, Beerus praised Roshi for managing to take out strong fighters like Ganos and Frost. Anyway, Kale continued her fight with Ribrianne.